make sure to have part of that conversation be in Konkani, because she's now expressed this active interest in learning. And I mean, it blows my mind that not only are we here to have you guys carry this on, but that I can impact someone in my own family, someone in my own house, to take the reins and go with it and just try and be as involved as she can in the future. And it's something that each of you will discover for yourselves, and we're just trying to get you in to have this warm, fuzzy feeling that I have every time I have a conversation with my sister. I want you guys all to have that warm, fuzzy feeling. So hopefully we can all make that impact.
So yeah, okay, you guys have heard already about how basically we have these, yearly or biannual type of meetings, but we don't really have a year-long connection, and that's what we're really striving to do with this group. But so basically, the framework for this is we've gotten together over the past year and had several meetings and kind of to understand where we really want to contribute. So I'm going to get into those areas where the different buckets, we're going to call them, of things that we're trying to preserve or things that we can really take advantage of having this like big group of people that are all have kind of similar background and similar interests. So yeah, the reason why this is important, I think, for everyone to get involved in this is a unique opportunity that we all have for this community consciousness. Like, we're a very small community, and we all have like a very common bond and a very similar family background as well, which is also important. I don't know if you guys were there yesterday for like some of the mental health portion of the seminars, but that was really interesting to me because one of the people in the group brought out the point that like, there are some things that you can't really relate to your parents with, like, but you also can't relate to your white friends, right? Because if you're dating or something, like, they don't understand, like, your white friends don't understand the fact that you can't talk to your parents about it, right? Or like, I don't know, even like, I hate to concentrate on relationships all the time, but it's like, but like, with wedding, like, we're getting married next year, and it's hard to, anyway, so but we're getting married next year, and like when you're really, your parents have kind of a different priority scale, or they come from a different culture where they want to invite the whole village, and like we don't necessarily want that. We want kind of a small wedding, but that's a tough thing to kind of relate to your parents with. You know what I mean? And like you don't know really how to be able to. But anyway, there's just things that we can take advantage of and be able to share within our community to be able to like have a community knowledge and be able to kind of grow this community. And we also definitely want to preserve our Konkani values and our heritage and our culture, and that's something that's very important. So we'll get to that. And also support the professional and social growth of our community here as well. That's another advantage that we'll be able to do. So these are the main buckets that I want to talk about. So. The first three are kind of individual things that we think can be done well in our community. So, go ahead, man. Sorry. The first thing is spotlighting youth. Like, kind of a forum for youth spotlight right now is Cover, which is the national newsletter that's for. And like, you might hear about so-and-so graduated from here, and so-and-so got married to so-and-so. Anyway, we don't really hear about some of the cool things that people are doing. Like yesterday, you heard a little bit about, like, say, Archana's in India. She's doing HIV/AIDS work, and some other folks have done some really cool things. Like Sanchez has gone to Spain for a while and knows how to speak more Portuguese. But there are cool things that we kind of want to be able to like highlight and spotlight, get people aware of, so they can get in touch with those people if they want to be able to do something with that. The second, education career, this is pretty obvious. Like, we want to have a database for everyone to be able to get involved and be able to make career transitions. And this one's really important to me because so last year, I wanted to make a transition to the solar industry. And I had no avenue to do that. I was in the medical device industry, totally different. And I actually because of a company connection, I got put in touch with the right person to be able to help me make that transition. And it wasn't like I just got an email address or a phone number. This guy, he brought me into his house and welcomed me as like family and offered me, dinner and was like, hey, let me get you every material that you need to read to be able to do this job. And I was like, man, that's a whole different level of connection that I would never have had I not come to it. Had I not been involved in the community. Human network, this one is a little bit different. It's different than career because there, like I was saying about the mental health stuff, like or like the relationship stuff. There are elements of our community that we can relate to each other better than we can relate to our parents, or better than we can relate to our American friends. And this is the kind of thing that I want people to be able to discuss and get in touch with, so that we can kind of be able to grow.
So, on the human network topic, after the 2005 convention, Jay, Bauman, and myself were thinking that these conventions are a lot of fun every year. We have a little bit of conversations for a while afterwards, but then it slowly dies down. So we came up with the concept of building company chatter, which you've heard about, which is the forum where you can have discussions and get to know people and meet some folks. And for me personally, I'm a relatively shy person, so when I come to these conventions, I have a hard time walking up to people and getting to know people. So with company chatter, I'm actually able to have conversations with people online, get to know them. And when I come to the convention, that barrier is broken down already. I get to talk to them. They already know a little bit about me. I know about them. So we can have more conversations and actually getting to know each other better. So go to company chatter, meet some people, join the discussion.
CookieChatter.com.
Yes, preserving history traditions. This one's pretty important. And an example of this would be like being able to preserve some of our voices of our previous generation. Like our parents, or sometimes us, are a very unique generation in that like we come from a totally different culture and we're here, and it's like kind of this totally new culture that only we have of North American companies. So we want to be able to preserve the voices of those people, because it's our kids and our grandkids aren't going to be able to hear the stories of that generation that immigrated, and I think that's pretty important to preserve.
So on that, I wanted to kind of ask a quick question to those of you who are in the crowd. How many people live or grew up in areas where there were a lot of other Indian people? How many people grew up, well obviously you didn't. How many people grew up in an area where they were maybe one of a handful of Indian people? Okay, so that's basically my story. Like I grew up in a really small town in coastal California, a town of 18,000 people. My high school had 3,000 people. It's actually a pretty big high school, but I was one of 3 Indian people when I started, and one of 5 by the time I graduated. So for me personally, growing up, I didn't really have very many other people to relate to on a cultural basis. And my background, I've traveled a lot since I was a kid, and I actually lived in Spain and also in Brazil, and made a lot of connections with people who have completely different backgrounds, and was able to sort of transcend, I guess, like cultural boundaries. But there's a connection there that is very distinct than connections that you can make with people who are here within our community. And I didn't really start to realize that until I came to these conventions and started meeting other people that I was able to connect with on a whole other level. People that understand the sort of the difficulty, I guess, of defining your own identity when you really have sort of no home in either place, whether it be here or in India. So it's something that is unique to all of us, and when you sort of go down on a deeper level, our culture as a community, as a Konkani culture, is very distinct even from other Indian cultures. So for me, I didn't grow up in an area where there were a lot of Indians, and I think that I don't necessarily hang out all the time with a lot of Indians either because of that, and that's kind of how I grew up. But the Indian people that I do hang out with tend to be the Konkani people, because I think there's a connection there that I don't necessarily have with other sort of Indians or other people. So that, to me, is really important about preserving our culture and traditions.
Yeah, so another thing that's important, like, and this example was just yesterday, is that community relations is important. Like, we have this small, pretty well-off community. We want to be able to give back and be able to relate to our community, and part of this initiative would be to be able to do something that Essential was talking yesterday about doing a community service trip to India.
I think there are 2 things I'm very proud of. One is that I'm a Texan, and the other